you've been doing some bad things, but the law has finally caught up to you. Fast forward and you're in court and the verdict is being read out. The judge says that you'll be locked up for the foreseeable future. You wish that a black hole would open up underneath you and swallow you. But that's when you have another idea, to make a run for it. This may seem like a crazy occurrence, but it actually happens a lot. From defendants who tried to escape through the ceiling, to runaways who got their friends to help out with their very clever escape plans. Tanner Jacobson and Cody Howard. You may think that the job of a judge is pretty mundane and boring, but as this footage proves, judges don't simply sit behind desks and bang hammers all day. In 2018, two defendants were in court in Lewis County, Washington. It's not clear why the duo was in court in the first place, but midway through the trial, Cody Howard and Tanner Jacobson had enough. They got up and bolted out of the courtroom. While still handcuffed, they then ran down a hallway. This was a fairly quiet courtroom and there was no police to chase them. So that's why Judge Buzzard derobed and chased the convicts. They got down several flights of stairs and even kicked open a fire exit door. But eventually Judge Buzzard caught up to them and stopped them in their tracks. The pair were given a felony charge of second-degree escape. But it's pretty impressive how the judge sprang into action and stopped these escapees. Leonid Gracer. This one comes from a high-profile case in Russia. In Russia, criminals are normally housed in courtroom cages. This is so they can't lash out at anyone in the court or escape. But if you're cunning enough, then there's always a way. 18-year-old Gracer was in court for taking out his older sister. He said that he was possessed by the order of Satan. The court police watched in amazement as he began to escape. It's something no one has ever done in Russia before because he tried to escape through the ceiling. This took place in the Sherbinsky District Court in Moscow. Gracer was able to do this because he was not handcuffed. It's normal in Russia for you to not be handcuffed if you're in a courtroom cage, but I think they may want to update their protocol. Later on, he confessed to taking out his sister Ariada. As Gracer was being arrested, he made claims that Satan and Lucifer made him do it. Scarily, he said, "It was necessary. I did what I had to do." On the run. This escape took place in 2019 in Rochester Hills, Detroit. Normally in courtrooms, there are some sheriffs in the court in case anything goes wrong. But in this case, the judge thought that if he told the defendant to sit down and stay still, that would be good enough. But as soon as the defendant realized there was no one to take him to jail, he made a run for it. The defendant was escaping because he was sentenced to 90 days in jail. The defendant spots the deputy, but then makes a run for it. Surveillance footage from outside the courtroom shows him running away. The man runs across the street, being followed far behind by the deputy. The man actually made it to a local woods, but then officers finally caught up to him. He was then handcuffed and taken to jail for a lot longer than 90 days. That's because he was also charged with escaping. According to Detroit NBC News, the man ended up serving around 300 days in jail. Sometimes it's better to just do the time than try and escape. Unless you're a fast enough runner, that is. Helping hand. You have to be a mastermind to be able to escape from court all by yourself and never get caught. But things get significantly easier when you have a friend helping you out. In 2018, a 17-year-old was in court and was sentenced to 5 months behind bars. That's when he made a run for it and left the courtroom. Everyone was chasing him, but they expected him to not actually leave the building. That's because a button needs to be pressed to activate the door. But little did they know that the 17-year-old's 21-year-old friend named Callum Fint was by the button. Surveillance footage caught Callum pressing the button just as his friend was going out the door. And Callum later got charged for this. His lawyers said that he accidentally pressed the button and didn't mean to help his friend escape. But Judge David Hatton said that he did not believe this. Bizarrely, the 17-year-old said he wanted to escape to play snooker. Let's be honest, how many 17-year-olds play snooker? The teenager was actually facing jail time for stealing a mobile phone. But now him and his friend Callum are facing a lot more time for escaping. The teen very nearly got away with it and was on the run for 2 days. But eventually he was found by cops and was arrested. This earned him an extra 6 months in jail. Quantrell Schwartzlo. This one actually takes place in a sheriff's office, but it's a pretty amazing escape. Quantrell was a suspect in someone being badly injured, so he was taken into the Rock County Sheriff's Office in Janesville, Wisconsin. He was handcuffed and was left in the interrogation room alone. But police did not anticipate him still opening the window while handcuffed. It's pretty amazing that he heads straight for the window as soon as the detective leaves the room. After he dives out of the window, he makes a run for it. 14 minutes later, the detective returns and he says, "No way." Quantrell was caught 3.5 hours later hiding in a friend's house, and it led to the police station changing all of their windows. They now have a stainless steel security screen. The windows hadn't been changed since the 1980s because nothing like this had ever happened before. But never underestimate man's desire for freedom. Christopher Lee Ruffin. In 2012, Christopher Lee Ruffin was in a court in Fairfield, Ohio. He was sentenced to 90 days because of a probation violation. But it seems Christopher was not willing to do the time. He ran right out of the courtroom and then left the entire building. He then ran to an apartment complex and hid out. While trying to take over a car with a woman and her 2-year-old child inside, the police caught up with him. They chased him on foot for some time, but Christopher was later arrested and taken back to jail. The footage of him escaping is quite remarkable because so many cops were chasing him. He simply outran them, going past a metal detector. Deontay reciles. This one took place in Broward County, Florida in 2016. Deontay was on trial for taking someone out. Deontay made a run for the door and then somehow slipped his handcuffs off. One cop tried to grab his jumpsuit, but he kept running and got away. He then left via a fire exit. Police then spent hours sweeping every building in the surrounding area. There was a gigantic manhunt on, with helicopters and cars everywhere. People in Broward County were stunned as they saw SWAT teams lock down the entire area. He actually had a getaway car waiting outside the courtroom and he was able to get away for 1 week. He said he did this because he was trying to prove his innocence. Nothing says innocent like escaping and causing a massive manhunt. Right now, Deontay has lots of supporters and they say he's being framed. But he has since returned to the same courtroom where he escaped from. Wayne Michael Trent. This one took place in Portland, Oregon in 2007. Wayne Michael Trent was in court for identity theft. He also had charges of having a false police ID and impersonation. That was when, without warning, he tried to leave the court and ran for the door. Luckily though, one deputy was able to stop him in his tracks. He was then escorted back inside and of course given a bigger sentence for trying to escape. Rayton Woodford. This escape took place in 2018 in Louisville, Kentucky. Moments after hearing his sentence, this man tried to escape from court. It happened so fast that the camera in the court was still locked on the empty witness chair. Woodford learned that he was going to serve the next 5 years behind bars. This was for narco charges. Amazingly, he was stopped leaving the court by a cop and also his girlfriend. Talk about the ultimate betrayal. The judge, Barry Willett, then said, "Well, that's a first in 19 years on the bench." Woodford is now facing additional charges of trying to escape, and based off the expression of the judge, it caught everyone by surprise. Sneak exit. This video took place in 2016 and happened in a Washington courtroom. Somehow a prisoner manages to escape. He takes off his prison clothing so he can try and blend in. Without anyone noticing, he then sneakily runs out of the exit. Later on, the courthouse reviewed their security to make sure this never happened again, and the inmate was tracked down a few hours later and was apprehended. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which was the most amazing escape on this list. If you want some more amazing videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thanks for watching. There are some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.